22 was a year for the books. I mean, it seemed like challenge after challenge seemed to immerse, and I would like take 2 steps forward only to take 10 steps back. And the problem was is that I was really hard on myself. I wasn't giving myself any room to breathe or any room to make mistakes. And see, the thing is, I know that I'm the only one like this. There's no one else like that. But the problem is that I'm my biggest judge. I realized that if I was going to be the best version of myself, that if I was going to be the exact creation that God had designed me to be, that I was going to have to understand something. That if I was going to find my purpose and the power that I withheld, that I was going to have to address one particular thing in my life. And that one thing that really needed to be addressed was self-confidence. See, it's something that may seem insignificant to so many, but it's actually one of the most pertinent concepts in order to get us over the top. It's what we need to propel us into our next. And that thing is, outside of everything, self-confidence. I mean, I had to really concentrate on how I thought about myself and the authority that I was giving others. I realized that I had to counteract the authority that I had given self-doubt. I needed to simply build my self-confidence while adding tools to that toolbox. Because see, if there's one thing that I hate, it's self-doubt. I hate it with a passion. I can't hate anything more. I hate the way it makes me feel or the way it makes me think. And yes, it's these little insecurities that seem to creep up all the time, and especially at the most inopportune moments, that cause me to hate them. Because thoughts and questions keep coming into my mind like, am I good enough, or do I deserve this? These same questions that seem to pop up all the time in my mind that made me doubt myself in anything and everything that I did. But the one thing I had to realize is that I had control. The fact is that I might have been down or might have even been out, but I didn't have to give self-doubt authority and allow it to take me out. See, there's one thing you have to understand, and that's that self-confidence doesn't mean that I'm not perfect. It doesn't mean that I don't fail. I have my challenges. And the thing is that when you see people that you think have self-confidence, a lot of times what you're seeing is cockiness or even insecurity. So what if I told you that that's not the ticket, that that's not really self-confidence, that what self-confidence is it has to deal with the aspects of keeping the promises that we tell ourselves, and in the long run, keeping those little promises? What if I told you that you have to understand that it's those little things, those little promises that you tell yourselves and even keep, that will propel you into your positive future? See, the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And his biggest tool in that toolbox is the fact that he wants you to be discouraged. He wants to get you to doubt yourself and get you to walk in fear. Because see, what happens is when he can do that, when he can get you to dwell on your insecurities and cause you to doubt yourself and what God said about you, is he can keep you from winning. He can keep you from being the best version of yourself that God designed you to be. And see, the thing that I said earlier was that I hate to lose. So his biggest ploy is that he tries to keep you focused on the negativity, the doubt, and the fear, so that you can simply not be that best version that God created you to be. See, God's intention for you is not one of stress. It's not anxiety or any type of calamity. But the fact is that he has a future and a hope for you. And the only way that you're going to see the light in the midst of the darkness is if you work on your self-confidence. So one of the things that I learned in 22 is the fact that if I was going to learn my purpose and the power that resided within me, is that I was going to have to understand is that self-doubt is not real. Like Will Smith said in the movie After Earth, that fear is a figment of my imagination, a story that I tell myself and cause it to become reality. Because see, self-doubt is definitely not something that I was born with. It definitely wasn't something that God put within me. See, you have to understand that if God didn't create it within you, that it's simply illegal for it to remain. So you're simply going to need to build your self-confidence. You're going to have to add more tools to that toolbox. And the fact is that such a thing doesn't happen overnight. You don't just say I'm done and then move on and say that's that. The fact is that the bigger and greater you build your self-confidence, that it will minimalize any self-doubt. See, you slowly destroy whatever fear you might carry by building your self-confidence. So, what's the tool I used? Well, I'm glad you asked. We must first understand what self-confidence is, though. And what self-confidence is it's the fact that you trust yourself. It's you trusting you. It's the promise that you made yourself that you keep. And so the one thing you have to understand is that if you can't trust yourself, then no one else can. So that's step one. You must keep the promises that you make yourself and begin to trust yourself throughout the entire process. So in 22, I listened to a lot of personal development, and Ed Milet said something that really grabbed my attention. He said that when self-doubt enters his mind, that what he thought about was an old record or CD. And whenever you get one of those thoughts, that what he said is that I simply scratch it. Because after a few scratches, what we have to understand is that the one thing that the album cannot do is play. I mean, that analogy truly resonated with me. It made so much sense, probably because I'm from that generation and I knew, or it had happened to me before. So I use that analogy on a daily basis as I step through to become the best version of myself. Because like I said, I'm not perfect. So what I need you to do is I really need you to hear me today and understand the fact that you're in control, that the self-confidence game is an internal game that you control, that you decide what you're going to do with that power. Either keep the authority or give it away. Because the fact is that you give authority to what you acknowledge. So do this. Keep the authority and the promises that you made to yourself. You need to acknowledge those things when you do them so that they can build a consistency. See, the one thing that my brother always said to me was that, Michael, you have to celebrate the little wins, because those little wins come from promises that I made myself and that I was consistent with. I mean, I heard it once said that those things is what we call confidence momentum. So I admit, I experience self-doubt on a daily. I'm not perfect. So what did I have to do? I had to build my toolbox. And one of the tools that I had to add was that whenever a negative thought came to my mind, I would simply say, scratch the CD. Because eventually, after enough scratches, those thoughts cannot be played on my player anymore. So you have to understand that in order to access the superhuman quality that resides within, that in order to live that superhuman life, you have to take authority of the negative self-talk that is within your life, that you're going to have to take authority of any self-doubt, and you are simply going to have to scratch the CD. Because I say it all the time, and it's the fact that your mindset will either be your prison or your passport. And it's when you take back that authority, it is when you access that superhuman power that resides within, that you are one step further from being the best version of yourself that you were initially designed to be. Yo, God bless. This is PD, and I'm out.